very afraid.
It's time for the darker side of Hanna Barbera. When people think of cartoons that look at the darker side of animation, I thought Hanna Barbera shows would be pretty unlikely to top the list. Hanna Barbera, with its bright colors, cheesy laugh tracks, and frequent product placements, seems like the byproduct of an innocent age. But, well, let's take a look together. So let's check out the top 6 darkest Hanna Barbera episodes. Number 6. Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, Come Undone. Was definitely not something I was expecting to hear in a Scooby Doo episode, but here we are. As I said before, Hanna Barbera isn't exactly well known for making horror-themed programs. Even shows like Scooby Doo and its gazillion spin-offs are more playfully spooky than outright scary. However, Come Undone, the series finale to the Scooby Doo incarnation Mystery Incorporated, features the Scooby Gang coming face to face with an existential threat to all of mankind, and afterwards a different sort of existential crisis. The episode opens with the series' main antagonist, the evil entity, has been freed from its prison and will now usher in the end of the world. Already, this is relatively uncharted territory for the Scooby Doo franchise. The evil entity then takes on the form of a talking owl named Pericles, stuffing its tentacles down Pericles' throat in order to possess its body. The entity then proceeds to consume people into its mass, absorbing them like the Blob. Then, a group of sharp-toothed monsters kidnap various characters, presenting them to the evil entity, who eats them alive. Daphne herself breaks down, unable to watch the horrible spectacle. It appears that all is lost, to the point that Scooby-Doo screams, "Help me, please!" to nobody in particular. To see a character like Scooby-Doo, who has cheered people up for 50 years now, be in genuine mortal danger, powerless to save himself, and shouting into the void, is a truly sorrowful sight. Of course, the Scooby Gang does save the day, but when they do, they run into something disturbing. The death of the evil entity created an alternate world, one where the lives of the Scooby Gang never happened. Imagine if you woke up one morning to find you were living in a world which was the complete opposite of what your entire life had been leading up to. Imagine that your friends, your family, and all the people you know are in an unrecognizable state. That's what happened to the Scooby Gang.
Our son, president of the Chef's Club, winner of the Ultimate Teen Chef Award.
But I'm like a slacker.
It seems in this new world, they never formed a mystery-solving company. They never once heard themselves be called meddling kids by any crook in a costume. The psychedelic mystery machine is now just a plain white van. However, in this new world without them, everyone seems fine. Bringing the question, was the world better off without the Scooby Gang? I don't know. In this new world, they feel like their life has no meaning. There are no mysteries in their lives anymore. Velma laments, what's the point? But in an interesting cameo, Harlan Ellison calls them in to join solving mysteries at a university across the country. And much to my mixed feelings, Mystery Incorporated is reborn. The episode still has a happy ending, and it's still very much a Scooby-Doo episode, so I'll put it early on the list.
Like zoinks! These crazy lava pits are like everywhere!
Spirit has risen up from the ground. No way to stop him, he's two-bit bound.
The Flintstones on the Rocks. This was a very late, more adult entry into the Flintstones franchise. In fact, it was made 40 years after the original Flintstones airing in 1960. It was actually dedicated to Joseph Barbera, the creator of the series, as well as Hoyt Curtin, a longtime Hanna-Barbera composer. In this episode, to call Fred and Wilma's marriage on the rocks would be putting it mildly. In fact, it starts out pretty sad to watch. The two are so sick of each other that Wilma physically attacks Fred during a marriage counselor meeting, and the rest of the meeting is just spent jeering at each other. While it's certainly understandable and relatable for a marriage to have problems, in this case, just watching them continually insult each other just feels so bitter and spite-filled.
Oh, hi, Barney. You want to do something stupid today? Hopefully something that gets me hurt. All right, Wilma.
Betty and Barney are considerably happier though, and try to arrange a trip for Fred and Wilma to Rockapulco. Oh, that pun. I guess some parts of this show never change.
Oh, Betty. Yeah.
But things certainly don't improve much at first on the trip. In fact, Wilma lashes out at Fred and very nearly decides to divorce him.
You, me, us, we're
over.
I gotta say, divorce is not a subject I remember being discussed in the original series. Then, after a misunderstanding, Fred even dives into drinking too much at the bar.
Name your poison.
Better make it agua, Julio. On the rocks.
There's a side plot about some guy named Xavier trying to steal a diamond from Wilma, but my only real interest was what happens with these two. I've been watching Fred and Wilma's marriage's ups and downs for, well, my whole life. Xavier soon threatens to kill Wilma by throwing her into a volcano, and Fred is knocked out. But luckily, the police arrive just in time to save them. Fred and Wilma do feel their relationship has gotten better during the trip, but then Betty and Barney start bickering because bitter marriages are fun for the audience.
You think you deserve anything the way you've been acting lately?
And how have I been acting, little Ann?
This one felt unusually bleak for the Flintstones series, but obviously seemed well-intentioned enough. But honestly, divorce, death, and assault were not subjects I expected the Flintstones to ever cover. On the Rocks is an interesting episode, and worth a look if you can find it.
My life as I know it is over.
Number
No way to
4.
stop him, he's too bit bound.
Tom and Jerry, Heavenly Puss. I think many people would recognize this short from when they were a kid, but probably not fully remember it. It's memorable because it's such a severe departure from the Tom and Jerry formula we're used to. At the beginning of Heavenly Puss, the lively expressions of Tom and Jerry's antics are loud and clear, but when a piano falls down the stairs and hits Tom, he finally finds himself in a cartoon violence encounter that's too much for him to handle. He actually can't dust this one off and walk away. The thing about these old cartoons is we know whatever happens, whether it be guns, swords, or blunt force trauma, we always know the characters will get back up again, and are always unharmed when the next episode begins. The idea of Tom actually dying from his injuries is a bit unsettling and weird. It's like I saw Mickey Mouse walking around Disneyland with his head off. The magic is gone. We see Tom's soul leave his body, sailing up into the night on an escalator to heaven. This is where the melancholy really starts to set in. That's right, what if Tom and Jerry had an encounter where Tom outright dies? Along with Tom, a bag full of drowned kittens are the new arrivals in the afterlife. Anyway, due to his lifelong obsession with harassing Jerry, Tom must get Jerry to sign a certificate of forgiveness or burn in hell. The hell is cartoony enough, for the bulldog is a devil, although there are some half-hearted slapstick gags. The Heavenly Puss is dour in its seriousness, as we watch Tom die and be threatened to be burned in hell. Tom gets a signature, but it's too late, and he falls through the long, lovingly painted abyss. Once again, we get a lot of introspection in this episode, with Tom looking back at what his entire life had led up to. And seeing Tom desperately beg to Jerry is surprisingly sombering. I mean, we get the "it's all a dream" fake out at the end, but it's still a very bleak episode. And the third, darkest Hanna Barbera episode is Dexter's Lab, Way of the Dee. Like many on this list, Way of the Dee involves a surprising amount of existential questioning for a Hanna Barbera episode. The episode begins with Dexter unsurprisingly losing his temper at Dee Dee.
Stupid, stupid, stupid!
Dee Dee has a surprisingly deep reply, saying that Dexter is also stupid in a way, because he has shut himself off from the outside world, which we all kinda knew.
Toil away, alone in the dark, searching for answers to questions nobody asked. Locked away from the world, never to explore the true mysteries of life.
He's spent his life experimenting on life, but not experiencing it. At this, Dexter has an epiphany and begs Dee Dee to teach him how to be a free spirit. She does, so the two spend a day together.
Look here, Dexter. What do you see? I see Relicus Icrus. Yes, dear. I know you can examine it, but can you see it?
Dee Dee's free spirit causes Dexter a moment of insanity, and in one momentous outburst, he destroys his entire lab, his life's work. Realizing what he's done, the episode ends with Dexter quietly and somberly beginning to rebuild. What's dark to me here is that without his original role and purpose, Dexter's entire life falls apart. In the final shot of Dexter rebuilding, it's as though he's resigned himself to this role forever, because that's the only way he can function. It's at least a very interesting, different episode of Dexter's Lab, unlike any other I've ever seen, and definitely worth a look. And the second darkest Hanna Barbera episode is the Powerpuff Girls. See me, feel me, know me. This episode was so controversial that it never actually aired on TV in America. There's a multitude of explanations for why, and that's no surprise. This ambitious rock opera has plenty of deep ideas to discuss, and plenty for controversy mongers to cry foul at. There were some major concerns of all the flashing lights, which some viewers feared would trigger epilepsy. Obviously, I've left them out of this video. Then there's all the political and religious ideas within the episode's plot. After a brutal losing battle with virtually every villain they've faced, the Powerpuff Girls wish for peace on Earth. And what follows is some surprisingly evocative imagery. Some people think the shot of the flaming buildings in the destroyed city might have been too evocative of the 9/11 attacks, so some think that's why it didn't air. Cartoons were understandably pretty squeamish to show destructive imagery at the time. Just look what happened to SpongeBob's Just One Bite. A teardrop falls to the ground, revealing a gnome. The gnome will usher in peace and an end to crime, if the girls give up their powers. The deal's made, and peace comes to Townsville. But we begin to see how the darkness spreads. And here begins one of the darkest concepts of all. At the cost of Townsville's peace comes the loss of all individuality and freedom. In fact, this gnome starts a cult. The people give up their individuality, becoming slaves to the gnome's cult, all wearing the same quasi-religious outfit. I'm surprised no one made issue of the fact that the uniforms resemble that of the KKK. There's a controversial but powerful musical number by the professor, portraying him as a butcher, slicing and grilling images of the American dream. And he ponders the trade-off between liberty and security.
Do the people have to be freedom beef?
Ultimately, the girls decide that good and evil must coexist, and freedom must reign. Life is nothing without freedom, even if it means the existence of villains to stop. And I completely agree. On his official Tumblr, Powerpuff Girls creator Craig McCracken explained that the episode was stopped from airing because of some rubble that looked like crosses. And apparently, some of the extras resembled Jeebus. This baffled McCracken, with him saying it was a total surprise and not all of their intention. Even if it was their intention, who cares? We have a powerful critique here to children about freedom and safety that makes them think. It's just... While the execution of the songs can feel a little sloppy and off-tone, I mean, I'm sorry, but some of these characters cannot sing.
I will take control and I will plow down your city tonight.
I really respect the message they were trying to give to kids here. All these questions about human nature, freedom, and crowd mentality. Questions which plague mankind every day. And it's all presented through rock music. And before we get to number one, I just have one quick honorable mention. The ghost scene from The Good, the Bad, and the Huckleberry. I just really love this movie. It's probably not that dark, but I just really wanted to mention it. Huckleberry Hound fakes his own death, and basically utilizes the entire Hanna-Barbera crew to pretend to be a ghost. I definitely recommend this movie. It's a classic that I grew up with. And the number one darkest Hanna-Barbera episode is Captain Planet, Population Bomb. An episode of Captain Planet that's based on the outdated idea that formed during the Great Depression in the 1920s. The idea that there are too many people being born and that we're going to eat each other like rats. Jeebus. In fact, the Planeteers recommend to people that they start having less children.
I think everyone should have fewer children. In some countries, the government recommends that a couple only have 2 children.
I just don't know where to begin with this one. Did they even open a book for this one? Did they do their research? China's having a major lack of qualified worker crisis right now because of their now abandoned one-child policy from the past. They have to pay their couples to have children now. This is just so stupid. Many people in developed countries don't even want kids. It's a real problem now. Ugh, jeez. Anyway, Wheeler meets a society of mice who apparently gain sentience due to a nearby bomb testing? Alright, apparently their city Miceland started out as a paradise, but then their population got too big, and now the streets are filthy, the skies have turned brown and dirty, and animals were hunted to extinction for food. But wait, it gets better! It turns out Miceland is also under a dictatorship. This dictator releases a super weapon that begins to wipe out the entire mouse population. Wheeler offers to save his mouse friend Piebald and his family, but he refuses, deciding that his race has gotten what they deserve for overpopulating the island, so they all deserve to die.
My people and I are doomed, but yours can still be saved. Don't let this happen to you. Don't let there be more people than your world can hold.
This is just so stupid. Anyway, the whole mouse population dies horribly, but fortunately Wheeler is rescued. So we're taught the warning of an outdated book written in the 1920s. I can't even fathom this one, because our population is already facing the issues of a lower birth rate in developed countries, almost unanimously around the world. To summarize quickly, when your kids are less likely to die at birth, there's a higher education rate, and we're able to live more comfortably. We discover the birth rate globally takes a major nosedive. I could go over the long-term widespread studies on fertility rate trends, but we're meant to be talking about Captain Planet here, so check out In a Nutshell's discussion on overpopulation if you would like to know more. In case you hadn't guessed, I don't like this episode. Yeah, it's dark, there's a lot of dying, but it's also severely misleading.
The power is yours.
If there were a national archives constructed for cartoons, the decades of content produced by Hanna Barbera would probably be enough for an entire warehouse. Some of these darker spots in their long history give children more insights into not just themselves, but into human nature and the beliefs of others. They can help encourage kids to think. And if you think I missed a particularly dark Hanna Barbera episode, feel free to leave your own thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.